Hi, this is Aiden, and welcome back to M.E.L.O.D.Y Finance Lesson 2. Let's begin. Last time, we learned about the theoretical idea of bonds. Today, we're going to discover the real-life application of them. Let's begin. Before we start, let me ask you something. Can a bank run out of money, even if it looks very rich? Banks hold billions of dollars. They look powerful, professional, and safe. So it sounds quite wrong that they could ever fail. Today's lesson begins with that confusion. By the end of today's lesson, you will understand what Silicon Valley is and why it matters, what a bank's real job is, how bonds play a key role in a real bank collapse, and why trust and timing are critical in finance. Okay, before we talk about the bank, we need to understand the place of Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is a region in the United States. Many tech companies and startups are located here. Those companies grow very fast, need a lot of money for research and development, raise huge amounts of money from investors, and handle large amounts of cash. And when they raise money, they obviously do not spend them at all once. They need somewhere to keep it. So they put it in banks. The bank we are talking about is the Silicon Valley Bank, or SVB. SVB mainly work with tech startups. Most startups raise a lot of money from investors, but they are not making steady profits yet. So, they needed a bank to help manage their money safely and professionally. That bank was SVB. Many smart and successful companies trusted it. They had millions of dollars there. Why? Because the bank looked safe, respected, and reliable. So here's the real question. If so many smart companies trusted this bank, how could it possibly fail? Okay, let's connect to lesson 1. A bond is a promise. A bank is also built on promises. A bank promises customers that if you put your money here, you can take it back anytime you want. But at the same time, since the bank has to make money too, they just don't like the money you put in. Instead, the bank uses that money to invest and generate profits. So here's the hidden tension. Customers want money immediately, and the bank's investments often need time. A bank survives only if enough cash is ready, customers trust the system, and time is managed carefully. If time and trust break at the same moment, the system becomes unstable. Okay, here's what happened for the case of SVB. SVB, the customer deposits and invests them into long-term government-related bonds. Why long-term? Because usually, longer waiting means higher interest. And at first, this looked safe. Because, government-related bonds feel trustworthy and they pay steady interest. But then, something changed. During COVID-19, interest rates were lowered to almost zero to support the economy and prevent companies from collapsing. Low rates encouraged spending and helped businesses survive. At that time, short-term bonds offered very little return. So, SVB chose to buy long-term bonds in order to earn higher interest. But after the pandemic, inflation rose rapidly. To control inflation, the central bank raised interest rates quickly, which in turn discouraged spending. Now, remember lesson 1. When interest rates go up, what happens to old bonds? Yeah, that's right. Old bonds' price go down. So, SVB was holding many long-term bonds bought during low rate times, and suddenly, those bonds become much less valuable. Now, something else happened. Many tech startups started needing cash. Some are not earning enough money yet, so they needed that extra cash to sustain themselves. At the same time, news started spreading that SVB has losses. In turn, some customers became nervous. Eventually, many companies began asking for their money under the thought that they might not get their money back. But remember, SVB's money was locked in long-term bonds, but customers wanted cash immediately. the bank did not have enough ready cash, so it tried to sell bonds quickly at a lower price, not being able to afford the exact amount of money they needed. This is the moment where their trust disappeared. Within 48 hours, billions of dollars were withdrawn or requested. SVB could not raise enough cash in time. That is when the regulators stepped in. On March 10, 2023, Silicon Valley Bank was officially shut down by US authorities. It became the second largest bank failure in the US history. But what happened to the startups? Many startups suddenly could not access their money. Some companies were unsure if they could pay employees, cover rent, and continue operations the following week. For a short moment, it felt like thousands of tech companies might freeze. However, the US government quickly announced that all depositors would be protected, ensuring that all the money will be safe. So, what does this imply? This was not just a bank failure. It shows that finance is not only about earning higher returns, but it is also about managing risk, timing, and trust. SVB did not collapse because bonds are bad. It collapsed because long-term investments did not match short-term promises. When trust disappears, even large institutions can fall quickly. The implication is simple. In finance, safety is not about looking strong. It is about being prepared for change. Lastly, I'll ask you this. If you're the bank manager, would you choose a higher return with longer waiting, or lower return with more flexibility? There is no perfect answer, and that's why finance is so difficult. That's it for lesson 2, and thank you for listening today. Please comment any questions on the website. See you in lesson 3. Bye.